copy means you can use a variable or a function from a different module into a different file. Okay, you can always do that. So now Python also has some inbuilt modules present inside itself. Okay, you don't have to install a separate. So a big collection of modules is called as a library. Okay, library has books. Similarly, you have libraries in every programming language. Python has lots and lots of libraries. Some of those libraries or modules are present inside Python itself. Means you don't have to install a new library. Like I asked you in today's email, if you checked it, that to install matplotlib. Okay, matplotlib is another library which allows you to plot graphs. Okay, in Python, which is not present inherently inside Python, but there are some modules which are present inherently inside Python, but they are not loaded by default. Okay, one of those modules is called as math. Okay, so for example, let us import math. Okay, what does math have? It has a few things like probably sine, cos. Okay, you can do those. Okay, so if you want to find the sine of let us say math dot sine, okay, sin. Okay, if you want to do sine of pi, let us say you want to do that. Okay, so again pi is not defined by default, but it is a variable inside the library, inside the module math. Okay, so if you wanted to use the pi variable from the math module, what will we do? Math dot pi. Okay, so math dot sine is being called with an argument math dot pi. Okay, so what should, hold on a minute, what should be the answer of this? 0, but we don't get a 0. What do we get? We get 10 to the power minus 16, which is as good as 0. Okay, yeah, there was some question by somebody. Yeah,
function from that file.
Yeah, you can do that.
So how we can do that?
So let us say if we wanted to import, so class 7 had two things. One of those was function f and one of those was the variable z. Okay, I could say import class 7 dot f as, let us say, f. ये करेगा? नहीं करना चाह रहा है शायद ये. No, it's not doing that. So it has to be a little more advanced. It doesn't allow that. Okay, but one thing that I want to mention here is that if you want, let us say you have such a big name. Actually, the reason I was writing it that way, because there are probably they have a bigger library called as package or something, where it is allowed. So matplot, we do not import matplotlib completely. We only import one of those maybe modules of matplotlib called as pyplot. Okay, so if you look at any of the codes that you'll find online of Python where they're trying to plot something, they have import matplotlib dot pyplot as an alias. Okay, in this case I have assigned the alias, let us say, as hold on a minute, CL. Okay, so what is this doing? Import class 7 as CL. So what is this going to do? Now wherever I was previously writing class 7, I'll write CL dot F or CL dot Z. Okay, so we have assigned a nickname to our module. Okay, so if you are using something again and again, for example, I just told you that if we wanted to import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Okay, so otherwise we will have to do what? Every time we want to call that any function within that library, we'll have to type matplotlib.pyplot again and again. We don't have to do that now. We just use plt dot whatever the function is associated in that particular library.
Sir, why it's not working for class 7?
So you can only import modules. Okay, matplotlib is not just a module, it's a package which contains multiple modules. One of those modules is pyplot, that's why it is working.
So we can declare modules actually as
I have no idea, yaar. I don't know that much details about packages and modules, but that's the error that it gave. Okay, so pyplot is one of the modules inside matplotlib, which is a package is a collection of modules. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
फ्रॉम करके भी इंपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, जैसे रैंडम से रैंडेंट अगर इंपोर्ट करवाना है तो फ्रॉम रैंडम इंपोर्ट रैंडेंट.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah, you can probably do that. Yeah. So let us try that. Class 7 import f. Okay. Yeah, this is probably allowed.
उसी में कॉमा लेके मल्टीपल चीज भी कर सकते हैं ना.
Will it work now? Yeah, it is working now. Okay. So if you want to import a specific function, here you're right, thank you. If you want to import a specific function and make it as means independent, means that it should be called directly without specifying the module name, then you have to do, first you have to import the module, then from that module you are going to import a specific function or variable. Okay, you can do that. Thank you. Okay, is that all right? What's your name? Sayam. Yes, Sayam. Is that okay? But without importing the complete module, you cannot import a function, just a function from that module. You have to import the module first, and then from that you have to import a function. But actually it's not a good idea. Don't do that. If you look at old codes from Python, you will see there is also a habit that people previously had from class import star. What would that do? That would import all the variables with their native names into this particular file. So if you don't remember what z is, then what are you going to do? If you define a new z, then it is going to interfere with the previous z, it is going to overwrite it. So it's not a good idea to ever do this. And I would say that even so
does it also import all functions from class 7?
yeah.
Does it also import all functions from class 7?
Yeah, that's what it does. Import star does it imports everything from class 7, including the variable names and functions with their actual names, and they become sort of native to this code. We do not want that. Okay, because we do not know, because we are उस class में किसने क्या क्या कितने functions लिखे हुए, that's not a good idea. So import star is a bad idea, but even this from class 7 import f is not a very good idea. Okay, because it's not a big deal to just type cl.f is not as big a deal, means it's not really that difficult compared to writing f. Okay, but once we have cl.f, we know that f has not been defined in this particular code. Okay, there is no possibility of any interference between a new f that you define in this code compared to the what f that was previously defined, because you are not always seeing the code that is present in the other file. Okay, so you do not know what all variables are defined in that particular file. Okay, so this would be the best way of doing it. Okay, so import class 7 as cl, and then if you use any functions or variables that are present in that class, sorry, not in that class, not in that module. Yeah.
Sir, can we edit any variable of the previous file in this?
No, we can't. Means, what do you mean by that?
Sir,
let us try.
Import करने के बाद तो कर ही सकते हैं.
cl dot z is equal to 8 डिफाइन किया ना हमने उसमें. Let's call that as 9. Yeah, probably you can. Okay, it became 9. No, it won't. That's the point. It won't. It is running. It is getting modified only in this particular runtime. Okay. So if you look at it, hold on a minute. So there is no physical editing of any files that happens because the previous file had what written on it. If you look at it, z is equal to 8. Okay. So it will stay that at that value only. Okay. So if you want to modify it, you can modify it in the new program, but that is there only for that particular instance of the run. Okay. Yeah.
Like in class 7, if we take Z as an input,
Yeah.
and in class 8 we are using that Z for calculation.
Okay.
The program are running side by side.
No, the program doesn't run side by side. No, because once you run a program, only means if you run two programs, let us say you could magically start both the program simultaneously, 7 and 8. Okay, you start them at the same time. 7 does not know anything about 8. 8 does not know anything about the 7. Only when 7 is called from 8 does it get executed within that runtime.
But the Z variable in class 7 was taking input from the user.
Okay.
So if class 7 is running and class 8 is running,
Class 7 is running from class 8. That is different, and class 7 running independently is different. They are not going to be running in the same program even if you start at the same time. Okay, class 7, when you call class 7 from class 8, it runs only from class 8. It means that is a separate instance. Okay, and if you run class 7 independently, it runs separately. They both don't know anything about each other. The only thing that they are sharing is the same text file, but actual memory in computer, the calculation, the thread, the process that is being assigned are completely different for both of them.
so at the time of running, we are not late. We are just taking the data from one class, one program to another without like what is changed while running.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So you can think of it as you have copied the text from that file on the top of this. Okay, and the variable names in the subsequent file have changed slightly because you have to assign module name dot the variable name. Other than that, it's just that we are just copying the contents of the file on the top of this wherever the import document is, import command is. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else has any questions? Anyway, that's not really very important for this particular part of the course that we are talking about, means where you guys are. So it's not really that important. So the thing that you should understand is that this line number 3, that if you want to import something, you can import it as it is. Okay, then you will say import class 7, or if you want to assign it an alias. Okay, alias urf, सबने सुना होगा ना urf हिंदी में, ठीक है, alias nickname. Okay, you can assign a nickname to it, class 7 as cl. Then can you use class 7 after that? No. Okay, so class 7 as cl, only cl gets understood by Python in the future. Okay, in the remaining part of the code, class 7 is no longer identified as class 7. Okay, class 7 is identified as cl for the rest of the code. Yeah.
Sir, what if we assign Z as an input function in class 7?
That's what his question was.
So what will be the output in this 8 file, class 8?
What do you mean?
Like in class 7.
So I just told him that whenever you are saying import, you are essentially copying the contents of that file here or here. So what do you think is going to happen?
It's going to ask input.
Yeah, and you just enter it and it's going to use it in the later part. Okay, so let us try doing that, what you are asking, but that is what we expect it to do. So z is equal to int, यार मैं इतना इरिटेट हो गया हूँ इससे, लेकिन ये बंद नहीं हो रहा है, input So let us try running it. Actually, it should ask you an input immediately. That's what should happen, no? What do you think? Huh? As soon as line 3 gets executed, immediately it should ask for the input. Will it? I don't know. Before printing anything, it should do that. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let us say I say 10. Yeah. Okay. So that's what it does. What I just told you. That it's sort of another way of just copying the code over here. Okay. So remember, so line number 5 is the first time anything is getting printed. Okay. So in line number 3 and 4, nothing is actually happening. We're just importing the code. So what is it doing? It is importing and executing at the same time. By executing, I mean that just run everything that is. So it would be the same as just copying whatever was in that file over here, in that import place. Is that all right? Okay, that is exactly what is happening because उसकी line number 4 क्या थी हमारे code की in class 7. Line number 5 was int input number. Okay, that's what happens in the first instance over here. So line number 3 immediately executes whatever is in the file class 7, and one of those commands is input number. Okay. Any other questions? हाँ मैं प्रिंट भी होगा तो प्रिंट भी हो जाएगा, उससे सबसे पहले वही होगा. Yeah, let us do that also. Let us. Anyway, but these are not reasonable uses of import. Okay, whatever we are doing is just an experiment that we are doing. Okay, but these are not really very good or reasonable. ये तो मैंने क्लास 7 से चला दिया, क्लास 8 से चलाते हैं. Okay, that's what happened. तो दैट फंक्शन नहीं इंपोर्ट होता है ना, वही तो मैं तुम्हें इतनी देर से बता रहा हूँ. पूरा क्लास 7 इंपोर्ट होता है. तो इसीलिए जो मैं तुम्हें सारी चीज़ें बता रहा हूँ, दीज आर नॉट रियली वेरी गुड यूजेस ऑफ either import or this functionality of modules. Modules usually should contain only two things: defined new variables and new functions. Okay, that are the main uses of a module. This print statement should obviously never exist inside means independently exist inside a module. Okay, जैसे ही तुमने module run किया immediately print आ जाए, not a good idea, no? You all agree? ठीक है. So all of these are not really very useful ways of using the modules. It should be okay. So something like that is reasonable. And even this line is not really is a reasonable use of modules. Okay, जब मैंने ये line लिखी है, line number 8. Okay, not a good, means you can do it, but it's not a reasonable thing to do. Okay, it's sort of an unreasonable thing to do. Why are you trying to change a variable name in a different module? Why would you want to do that? Okay, not a good idea. You can define a new variable. Now use that. You could define a z inside here. ठीक है, तो हम अगर तुम्हें z से इतना ही प्रेम है तो this module thing is going to help you. ठीक है, you can define a new variable z. This z is only part of class 8. Okay, it is no longer a part of class 7. ठीक है, is that okay? So you can do that. So now let us talk about a new thing, that is differentiation. Okay, we had defined a function in the last class. Okay, sometimes you may want to take a derivative of that function. Okay, now how would you define the derivative? Does Python have any idea what that function is? Does it have any idea what derivatives are? It doesn't. Okay, but Python has ideas of how to do some calculations. We all know what the definition of a derivative is. We all know that. Anybody who doesn't know? the definition of derivative. Have I मेरे grey t-shirt? Yeah, you. What's your name? Huh? Bhavve? Yeah, that's all right. Bansal ji, बताइए, what is the definition of derivative? Yeah, that's all right. Means I'm asking for a mathematical definition. What is that? Let us say we want to find the derivative of function fx. What is the definition? fx by? नहीं यार, ये तो तुमने उसका सिनोनिम बता दिया, तुमने डेफिनेशन नहीं बताई ना. सोचो, dfx by dx is the synonym of derivative. ठीक है, it's another way of writing what the derivative is, but it's not a definition of derivative. What would be the definition of derivative? So what is dfx by dx? ये तो तुमने लेफ्ट हैंड बता दिया. चलो, I agree with you. What would be the right hand side? Come on, what is the first principle? अब मैं ये शब्द यूज करूंगा तो तुमको सबको डेफिनेशन याद आ जाएगी. हाँ, क्या? f x plus h minus x over x plus h minus x, तो h. ठीक है. So now limit h tends to 0. ठीक है. Is that all right? Do you think Python can do this? क्यों? Let us say you had no idea about what. I mean, you could calculate fx at any value. Okay, you can find out fx is given to you. Okay, but you had no idea what its derivatives are. तो तुम क्या करोगे? What would you do? है बंसल जी, क्या करेंगे हम? अगर तुम्हें फंक्शन fx दिया हुआ है, ठीक है, और तुम्हें कोई आइडिया नहीं है कि उसका डेरिवेटिव क्या होता है, ठीक है, तुम्हें डेरिवेटिव निकालना भी नहीं आता, कोई तुम्हें फॉर्मूले नहीं आता, यू हैव नो फार्मूला, साइन से कॉस हो जाता है, ये सब चीज़ें तुम्हें नहीं आती हैं, यू डोंट नो दैट, एंड यू आर आस्क्ड टू फाइंड द डेरिवेटिव ऑफ दैट फंक्शन एंड लेट अस से x इज इक्वल टू 2, तो तुम क्या करोगे? आई विल गिव यू 5 minutes everybody. Why don't you this is your quiz for today. Write your name, roll number and today's date. So if you look at it in there's something unrelated to that, but it might be important for you. If you look at this, you will see that there is an error that I am getting. ठीक है, import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. I am getting an error because I have not installed matplotlib on this particular computer. Okay, it's not installed over here. Okay, so if I want to get rid of that error, I need to install matplotlib, which I had already told you in the last class in my email that you have to do pip install matplotlib. ठीक है, so the computer has to be connected to the internet because it downloaded on its own. Okay, PIP, it had everything inbuilt into it. ठीक है, सारे सर्वर वगैरह सब कुछ उसमें सब कुछ है. So if you use, so but this has to be run from the command line. Okay, either you can directly run it from the command line or within the terminal of VS Code you can do that. Okay, so now matplotlib is no longer showing that error. Okay, because it has now been installed. Okay. Yeah. So the question is that you are somehow given a function fx. The definition of function is given to you. so that you can find fx at any value of x that is given to you. You can find that. Okay, now you are supposed to calculate the value of f prime x df by dx at x is equal to 2. What are you going to do? You are supposed to find df by dx at x is equal to 2. क्या नाम था तुम्हारा? यस रोहन, क्या करेंगे? तुम कह रहे कि पाइथन कर ही नहीं सकता कैलकुलेट, तुम कर सकते हो कैलकुलेट. कैन यू डू इट? हाँ, मत फर्क नहीं पड़ता, तुम्हें fx की वैल्यू पता है. एट एवरी वैल्यू ऑफ x you know fx. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, but I'm telling you that somehow magically you know the value of fx at every value of x. हैं? हाँ तो करो, वही तो कह रहा हूँ. तुम कह रहे पाइथन नहीं कर सकता तो तुम कैसे कर पाओगे? He is saying because Python cannot define an h, therefore it is impossible for us to. So h, what is the definition? What is the value of h here? Tending to 0. So he was saying Python can't do it because h cannot be defined in Python. But can you define h? Can you define h? You are not able to understand my question? मैंने तुम्हें सब कुछ बता दिया. तुम h क्या होगी, h की वैल्यू क्या होगी तुम्हें देखो. So if you want to find this at 2, what do you need? df2 by dx is equal to limit h tends to 0, 2 plus h and 2. I am telling you that you can choose any value of h in this world. Okay, and we know what f2 plus h is. We know it. ठीक है, 2 ऑलरेडी f2 तो हमें पता ही है. ठीक है, तो तुम निकाल सकते हो. So the question is, what is h? I know what f2 plus h is. If I know h, I know what f2 plus h is. So if you as an engineer, again, don't think like a mathematician, think like an engineer. What does engineers do? What do engineers do? जुगाड़ करते हैं. ठीक है, उसके अलावा approximation. Okay, engineer is equal to approximation. Okay, तो h को क्या करेंगे हम? approximate करेंगे. ठीक है, we are going to approximate h as some value. Okay, so we are going to approximate h as something. Okay, अगर तुम्हें करना होगा तो तुम भी तो यही करोगे. अगर तुम्हें exact value निकालनी हो f prime 2 की, मतलब exact as exact as you possibly can. If you don't know what the definition means, formula for f is, what is the possibility? What is the way you can do it? This is the only way. ठीक है, you have to find f2 plus h minus f2 divided by h. Now you have to choose what the h is. Whichever is a reasonable h might be a good h. Okay, how do you define what is a reasonable h? What would be a reasonable h? No, forget about this, yaar. Let us not worry about this because technically it is wrong. It should be 0, identically 0. Sin pi should be identically 0. So that's not the point. That will come into how do we choose h. ठीक है, why are we getting this error here? Because Python cannot do exact real numbers. Okay, because Python cannot calculate or use exact value of real numbers. We always have to do truncation. That is why we are getting this error. This is sin. So if you look at this is sin pi. It should be identically 0, but it is not. Okay, so Python does not have ways of calculating, means it doesn't have definitions के pi पे ये होगा. So it has whatever Taylor series expansion वगैरह से किसी तरीके से. So first of all we are approximating the numbers itself. Okay, we are truncating the numbers. So that is an approximation. Second approximation we are doing is in any numerical calculations. What do we have? We have every definition is an approximation. One of those definitions might be sine. ठीक है, तो साइन कैसे कैलकुलेट करेगा वो? मोस्ट लाइकली अ टेलर सीरीज एक्सपेंशन. ठीक है, तुमने मैथमेटिक्स में अभी पढ़ रहे होगे या पढ़ोगे या जो भी है. ठीक है, या पढ़ चुके होगे तुम लोग. एनीवे, सो दैट इज हाउ इट अप्रॉक्सीमेट्स. So that is why we are getting this error. Otherwise it would not be very difficult. If we had a lookup table of sine this versus that, तो क्या होता? Immediately, obviously पाई को हम क्या करते उस टेबल में? 0 ही लगाते ना. ये कहाँ से आ रहा है? The reason we are getting this is because it is trying to calculate the value of sine from its most likely its Taylor series expansion. That is where this error is coming from. ठीक है? Yeah.
Is
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. So his point is also very good. Is pi actual pi? That is not either. Okay, that might be the main reason for the error, because pi is not pi. Okay, pi is again a truncation of the actual value of pi, because the number of digits in pi are infinite. Okay, so that might be a bigger reason for the error. Thank you, Pallav. Good. पल्लवी है ना तुम्हारा नाम? ओके, आई रिमेंबर यू, योर नेम समहाउ. और ये हमारा कौन है? भव्य बंसल. ओके, so what do we do here? What h do we choose? As small as possible. ठीक है, but what is that as small as possible? हाँ, n raised to power
10 raised to power minus 16.
10 raised to power minus 16. Why 16? Why not 160? Why not 160? So please try to understand, the smaller the number, the more problems you are going to get because of truncation. ठीक है, the more problems you are going to get because of truncation. ठीक है, so we don't want to use very small numbers, because Python is going to, so if a number is, let us say, ठीक है, ऐसा नंबर है, और then we have another number which is actually that is not a big issue. Let us say this. ठीक है, दिस इज अ मच बिगर इशू, क्योंकि ये जो मैंने पहले लिखा था उसमें क्या था, बहुत सारे जीरोस थे, तो दोज वर ऑल इनसिग्निफिकेंट. आई कुड ऑलवेज शिफ्ट दैट जीरो एंड पुट अ 10 to the power minus समथिंग. ठीक है, बट व्हाट अबाउट दिस, द सेकेंड नंबर? Let us say that the limit of Python, the number of digits that you can have in Python is, let us say this. ठीक है, इतना है. ठीक है, फर्स्ट नंबर विल बी फाइन. ठीक है, उसमें से तुम अगर लेट अस से f2 plus h is this and f2 is 1, let us say it is 1. ठीक है, f2 की वैल्यू 1 है और f2 plus h is this. ठीक है, for a given h. ठीक है, and in the second case what do I have? f2 plus h is ये नीचे वाली वैल्यू. ठीक है, and now obviously the h is different. ठीक है, h मैंने इसमें, what is the h? Is it smaller than the top one or larger? Smaller, much smaller. ठीक है, much smaller h I have chosen. तो what is going to happen? जब इसको ट्रंकेट कर देंगे तो क्या आएगा, यहाँ पर क्या आया 1.0, और अगर उसको माइनस करेंगे f2 की वैल्यू दोनों की इसमें 1 है. f2 plus h is different because I am choosing different h's. ठीक है, तो न्यूमरेटर दोनों में, न्यूमरेटर बॉटम, इन द टॉप केस यू विल गेट अ रीजनेबल न्यूमरेटर. ठीक है, 0.001234 whatever. ठीक है, what are you going to get in the second case, the numerator? You're going to get a 0. So what is a small value? Small value is, means you have to choose an h such that it is not too large, so that too large so that the error is not too big. ठीक है, the larger the h, the higher the error in your definition of derivative. ठीक है ना, do you all agree? What are we essentially doing? How are we defining derivative? So let us say if we have a function like this, okay, derivative of this point is the tangent. Okay, but what is this definition? It is actually not a tangent, it is an equation of a straight line. ठीक है, do you all agree? That is the equation for a straight line. The tangent भी straight line होता है, but this is defined a little bit differently. It's not defined as the slope and intercept. It is defined as difference between 2 points. What are the 2 points here? H, 2 plus h and h. ठीक है, these are the 2 points. 2 plus h and h. 2 plus h and 2, sorry, yeah, 2 plus h and 2. ठीक है, those are the 2 points. The value of x is 2 plus h and 2, and the value of y is f2 plus h and f2. ठीक है, we are defining a straight line using 2 coordinates. ठीक है, so what are we approximating it as? We are approximating it as a straight line between these 2 points. ठीक है, That is what essentially we're doing. We're not actually making a tangent. We are approximating a straight line between two different points. The closer these points are, the lesser the error is going to be with respect to the actual tangent. ठीक है, the closer 2 and 2 plus h are, the lesser the error is going to be. ठीक है, तो हमें h को छोटा भी रखना है. ठीक है, h should be small so that the error is minimized in this definition, and h should not be too small so that the mathematical problems that we get because of truncation and all those things, those come. ठीक है, so you have to choose a reasonable value of h. ठीक है, so this is your next homework assignment. What is that reasonable value of h? ठीक है, this is due tonight. ठीक है, I'll see time. अभी खैर 2 मिनट बचे हैं मेरे पास, 5 मिनट. Is that all right?
-10 करके करा सर.
हाँ.
मेरा मतलब आ रहा है सर, बस मतलब ज़्यादा पॉइंट मतलब अप्रोक्सीमेटली सही आ रहा है.
गुड. अब -5 करके देखोगे तो
सर उसमें भी आएगा, बट उसमें डिजिट्स आगे मतलब शिफ्ट हो.
नहीं, लेकिन कितना डिफरेंस आएगा? Okay, before we do that, let me introduce a new topic today. अब हम इस यहाँ पर हैं ही तो yeah. Okay, so I'm defining a new introducing a new topic which is called as lists. Okay, Python doesn't have arrays. If anybody has done programming, Python doesn't have inbuilt arrays in it. Okay, there are no arrays in Python. Okay, so therefore Python is a very inefficient language as far as computations are concerned. Okay, if you were to do it in native Python, it's very slow. Not a very good language for computations, but it becomes fast because of the multiple libraries that people have written in C and get imported into Python. Okay, therefore Python becomes fast and it can be used for the computations that ये जो तुम्हारी AI computing is mostly done in Python. ठीक है, Facebook, Google ये सब Python use करते हैं. But the reason is that the backbone of that is running inside C. Okay. So if you want to create a list, obviously list is self-explanatory ना, ठीक है ना. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ठीक है. Is that all right? Now, if let us say, so Python allows you to go through this list very easily. Okay, how does it allow you to go through this list easily? For I in x, इतना आसान है. ठीक है, what is it going to do? It is going to assign I as various values of x one by one. ठीक है. So let us create a new list. Y is equal to this. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? हमने क्या कैसी लिस्ट क्रिएट कर ली? एम्प्टी लिस्ट. ठीक है, एम्प्टी सेट पढ़े होंगे तुम सबने. ठीक है, so it's similar. एक लॉजिकल variable has been created, a logical list has been created which does not contain any elements. ठीक है. Now if let us say I want to, so y dot append x, I star double star 2. What is it going to do? So append, everybody knows what append is? नहीं पता? Append is to add to something. Okay, so what does append function, what is it doing? Y, so it is y dot. ठीक है, तो please append, what is y? As a list. कैसी list थी पहले? Empty list. Okay, I have appended the element I double star 2, I squared into that list. ठीक है. So if I do this, is that all right? Is that fine? Any questions here? तो x क्या था, एक लिस्ट थी, ठीक है, x was a list, it gets printed over कहाँ नीचे, let me run it again, ठीक है, it gets printed 1 2 3 4 5 from line number 11 and line number 12 is printing y. y में हमने क्या स्टोर किया है, so what is this loop doing? If you look at this loop 9, loop 8 and 9, line numbers 8 and 9, it is going through all the elements of x. How many elements does x have? 5 elements, 1 2 3 4 5. And what does it assign that those values as? So I could, let me make a slight change, let me make this as 10. Okay, so if you look at this, so it does not get sorted or anything. Okay, whichever order you enter those numbers, in that order those numbers stay. So the first element of this x is 10. 10 का square क्या हुआ? 100. That gets appended over there. Appending also means at the end. ठीक है? So the function, if you look at line number 9, so y dot append. So there is an inbuilt function inside list. ठीक है? Dot हम लगाते हैं तो उसका मतलब क्या होता है? We are trying to use the function of a different module. Okay, यही किया था ना हमने. So you can think of that lists have inherent modules or functions associated with them. ठीक है, तो y dot append, it automatically calls the append function of list. What does that do? So on that list, which is the list in this case? y. y के end में इस element को add कर दो. So the first element that is appended is 100. In the next time we go through the loop again, I becomes 2. ठीक है, and what gets appended to y? 4. ठीक है, 2 square again at the end. So if you look at this point, when we were over here, after the second iteration we add 4 to it, then after the third iteration we add 9, 16 and 25. ठीक है, now the reason I wanted to show this, anyway it's not a big deal if you didn't understand, we will repeat this again. So I have imported matplotlib.pyplot as plt. So I can plot plt.plot, yeah. So plotting requires, the plot function of pyplot requires a x list and a y list. X is written first and y is written at the second. Okay, so x comma y. ठीक है, so what is it going to do? It is going to plot y versus x, and we also need to do, so this function creates this plot in logically, but if we want to see it we have to give the show command. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay, so this is the, I have introduced this time plots very quickly, but I think it is more useful to you guys. You'll understand it much more when you see something visually. Okay, so although I have introduced it very fast this year in the 3rd week, but I think it will be useful for you guys. Okay, so the 3 lines that you have to remember is import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. Okay, we are importing that library which does the plotting. Then we need to have plt.plot. Okay, plt.plot x comma y. X is, you could have y comma x also, means it doesn't matter. The first one becomes the x-axis in your graph and the second argument becomes the y-axis of the graph. Okay, and then finally you have to show that figure, then you have to apply the plt, call the plt.show command. Okay.